What is up, guys? My name's Jimmy. It's winter in Canada, and apparently an Obama snow passed by because there's a snow warning. It sounds like a perfect time for Pokemon Yellow Hardcore Nuzlocke. This is the first Nuzlocke that I've ever actually completed, and with it being a hardcore Nuzlocke, I'm pretty happy with the results. If you're unfamiliar with the rules of a Nuzlocke, they will be in the description below. The game begins as normal, naming yourself, your rival, and then picking up your starter Pokemon in Professor Oak's lab. Unfortunately, we don't get the standard selection of grass, fire, and water here, and we will be stuck with Pikachu for the beginning of the game. Luckily, it learns Thunder Wave at level 8, so that will be nice for catching our encounters. I chose Pokemon Yellow for my first hardcore Nuzlocke because it was the first Pokemon game I got as a kid, and since I really prefer Red and Blue over Yellow, I haven't actually played it in probably over a decade. Though since the encounters differ enough from Red and Blue, I thought it'd be a nice change up as far as a Nuzlocke goes. So after collecting our Pikachu and naming it Alphonse, we go for our first battle with Gary, which should be an easy win. Or maybe not. After looking up their stats, I see that Eevee's special is 15 points higher than Pikachu's, so it tanks my attacks and knocks me out. Good thing the Nuzlocke hasn't started yet. Before leaving town, we go hang out with Gary's sister for a bit, then catch our Route 1 encounter, a Pidgey named Tiny, then our Route 22 encounter, a female Nidoran named Narradin, which is a very important catch, and since I am limiting the amount of Pokemon I can use for each gym, Tiny takes his place in the PC, never to be seen again. We then make our way north to Route 2 and catch a male Nidoran named Prick, and in Viridian Forest, a Caterpie named Weedle. After picking up Weedle from the PC, we leave an unconscious Pikachu at the Pokemon Center to do some training. At the level cap of 12, Narradin learns the ever-important Double Kick, and Weedle evolves into Metapod, and then Butterfree at level 10, learning the equally important Confusion. Then, with 2 Pokemon at level 12, we challenge Brock to our first gym fight. Brock leads off with a level 10 Geodude, and I send out Narradin, getting a high roll Double Kick, then a low roll Double Kick, requiring a third turn to finish off Geodude. He then sends out his level 12 Onix and starts with a speedy Bide, which is slightly scary to see after I chose to use Double Kick. I then send out Butterfree and slow Onix with a String Shot for confusioning my way to victory. Brock then gives us the Boulder Badge and the worst TM in Generation 1, Bide. We exit the gym and head back to the Pokemon Center to pick up Alphonse, who seems less than pleased that we didn't use him to cheese the gym battle by zapping the sprinkler system to knock out Onix. He's really going to be mad when we box him later. Heading to Route 3, we get low-key accused of being a creeper before facing off against this imposter. Then, after being assumed a creeper a second time, we catch our Route 3 encounter, a Spearow who we rightfully name Better Bird. I decided against getting a level 5 Magikarp and choose to wait until we're through Mount Moon for a higher level Magikarp if need be, since the old rod can get us one anywhere. We then go into Mount Moon where I zone out completely and accidentally knock out our Zubat encounter, and then intentionally knock out another Weedle imposter, and battle the Breakfast Club for some easy experience, getting Narradin to evolve into a Nidorina, and then a Nidoqueen with the Moonstone we found. Later in the cave, this generous man gives us a fossil, which we can revive into Ammonite later in the game, before facing this couple with mad anime hair who apparently wants our new fossil. I wonder if they took that other guy's fossil. Weedle takes care of their Ekans, and Narradin double kicks the cat in next week, and stays in case the coughing has self-destruct. I checked, it doesn't. In Celadon City, we get our request for a Bulbasaur rejected before going to Route 4 for our encounter, which is a Sandshrew we named Virago. Then head north of Cerulean for another battle with Gary. I mistakenly thought he led with a Sandshrew of his own, so I led with Weedle, but had to switch out to Alphonse when he sent out a Spearow. Spearow falls to a Thundershock and a Quick Attack. Then Gary swaps into his Sandshrew. I know he doesn't have any ground attacks, but I swap out to Weedle anyways for a handy confusion win. I then put his Rattata to sleep to avoid any Hyper Fangs, and switch out to Narradin, who is able to take out both Rattata and Eevee with a few double kicks. He gracefully accepts his defeat and directs us to Bill Gates for developing the PC. But before Bill, we have to take on the Elite Four Light. The champion falls to a critical confusion, and this kind man tells us that we are skilled enough to become the leader of Team Rocket. The lady in Cerulean also recognizes our level of awesome and gives us a Bulbasaur named Herbal Tea. We then get another gift in the form of a Charmander named Candelabra and catch a Bellsprout named Keese. And after a near-death experience, we find Pokemon Bill, alone in his house at the end of Route 25. We trick him into going back into his machine, then steal his SS Anne ticket and leave him there alone to think about his mistakes. Keese evolves into a Weepinbell just in time to take on the second gym leader, Misty, the mermaidish tomboy. She leads with Staryu, and I lead with Alphonse, taking a crit tackle, then knocking it out with a pair of Thundershocks. Starmie then comes in and takes a Thunder Wave to the face before I switch out to Keese. After a handful of Vine Whips and an entirely useless X-Defend later, Misty gives us the Cascade Badge. She then tells us the way of the sword, but tells us to go find our own blade, because that one is hers. With the team limit up to 4 now, we pick up Naradin and Candelabra from the PC and say goodbye to Weedle, who may or may not have outlived his usefulness. You've been great, my friend. Candelabra evolves into Charmeleon, and we catch a disappointing Rattata named Chompy on Route 5. Then in Vermilion, we get a bike voucher from the Pokemon fan club and debate leaving Pikachu behind again. But we still have need for him. We then pick up a Diglett in, you guessed it, Diglett Cave, and name it 8-inch. You know why. We catch a Drowsy east of Vermilion and name it Dreamweaver, and after that we're ready to impersonate Bill to get onto the SS Anne, where Karma almost catches up to us with a terrifyingly close self-destruct. After healing up, we take on Gary again, where he brags about cheating on his Nuzlocke and leads with his Spearow yet again. I smarten up this time and lead with Alphonse for the easy Thundershock win, frying his flying type. He sends out Rattata, and Alphonse nopes the hell out of there, and Naradin flies in out of the Pokeball with both feet in front, knocking out Rattata once and for all. Sandshrew comes out third and gets a slightly scary critical slash off on Keese, who takes out his bottle of chloroform and ruins his day with a Vine Whip. Eevee comes out last and I switch into Candelabra. Eevee then eats my Ember like a bowl of Cheerios, then takes the full force of a 2-man doggy pile and passes out. Gary then gives me some more helpful advice before threatening me with a good time and exits stage left. Up in the captain's quarters, we give the man a quick rub and in return, he gives us the sword that Misty recommended. We are finally able to get past the small tree in front of the gym, then face the big man himself, Lieutenant Surge. He sends out a lone Raichu and then immediately falls to a 2-turn earthquake. He then gives us the Thunder Badge, and on our way out, Officer Jenny notices our TM-87. That's an old reference for the Shofu fans. She then gives us a Squirtle named Cannon Man and her phone number, 867-5309. After the gauntlet of Route 9, we get to the grass in Route 10 and find our Lord and Savior, Magnemite, who we name Polarize, who we promptly use to replace Alphonse, who will spend a long time in the PC thinking about his lack of good stats. In Rock Tunnel, we find another Zubat, which I managed to catch this time, and name it Morbius, because we all know how bad it is. Beyond Rock Tunnel, we get to Lavender Town, where we challenge Gary for our 4th battle in the Pokemon Tower. Gary leads off with his newly evolved Fearow, just for it to fall to my new Magnemite with Thunderbolt. After that devastating blow, he switches to Vulpix, and I decide to fight fire with fire, or something like that. He then sends out his own Magnemite, and despite it not having Steel's weakness to fire, he still loses to Candelabra in one shot. His Sandshrew comes out and shows some shred of resistance to my fire type, so I switch into Keese, who knocks out Sandshrew with one Vine Whip. Last comes out Eevee, who once again goes toe-to-toe with Naradin. The tried and true technique of double-kicking normal types into the ground is successful once again. West of Lavender Town, we get our Route 7 encounter. This was a very risky battle. Leading with Keese, I went for the Sleep Powder. I knew I had a replacement in case I got one shot, but I couldn't risk Kadabra teleporting away. Keese hits with the Sleep Powder, and a single Great Ball lands us one of the best Pokemon for this challenge. We just needed to realize the truth. There is no spoon. On Route 8, we encountered Jigglypuff, who I was not expecting in this grass, one of those different encounters from Red and Blue. We catch it and call it Acid, in reference to Wigglytuff's Red and Blue sprite. And in Celadon, we steal this man's Eevee from right in front of him and call it Umbreon, my personal favorite evolution. And west of Celadon is Route 16, and we catch our 3rd and best normal flying type, Doduo, who we name Tribird. A bit of training and we are ready to take on the 4th gym leader, Erica. I lead with No Spoon against her Tangela, and this thing tanks a Psybeam like I never would have imagined. I then think it's safer to switch into Tribird, who does some decent physical damage with Fly. Unfortunately, this thing goes for some mad Gen 1 strats by lowering my speed and then locking me into a bind. After a half dozen turns and a crit, I trade out Tribird, making sure not to lose such an important team member. Candelabra takes a few turns of bind, does minimal damage with Dig, fails to knock out with a Body Slam, then finally takes down Tangela with an Ember. Erica sends out Weepinbell next, which shrugs off an Ember and retaliates hard with an Acid. After deciding if it was worth a sack, I risk sending out No Spoon, praying to survive an Acid hit. Fortunately, Weepinbell misses with a Stun Spore, then falls to a critical Psybeam. Last she sends out Gloom, which takes one Psybeam and falls to the second. Erica gives up the Rainbow Badge, and we head to the Rocket Hideout. After navigating the maze of spin tiles, we battle Jesse and James for the second time. Kadabra easily wipes their team with a Psybeam each, and then we're left to take out Giovanni. Keith takes out Onyx with a 4-time super effective Vine Whip, and then does an encore with Rhyhorn. Persian, on the other hand, is quite scary, since crits are dependent on speed, which Persian has a lot of. Pair that with a high critical slash, and we could be in danger, so I swap into Doduo to try and get a critical 5-hit Fury attack, but get neither the crit nor the 5 hits. The second try has more luck with a critical hit and 4 hits, leaving only a few HP on Persian. Thankfully there is no crit on the bite, and we take it down with a peck. Giovanni leaves us the Silph Scope for some reason, and we catch a Ghastly named Black Sun in the Pokemon Tower. At the top of the tower, we put a Mother Soul to rest, which is still weird for a Pokemon game, and battle the Rocket Duo again. They lead with Meowth this time, as I lead with Keese, Weepinbell. I go for the Wrap strat, but Meowth outspeeds Keese, but even so, within a few turns, Meowth falls. They swap to a newly evolved Arbok, and I go for Kadabra and a Psybeam again. It's a one-hit knockout, and they go for Weezing. Another single Psybeam wins me the battle, and they blast off. Again. Mr. Fuji gives us a sweet Woodwind, and we go south for another valuable encounter. By the power of sleep, we catch a Snorlax and name it Dozer. Then evolve Polarize into a Magneton, which I never realized was so much better than Pikachu when I was a kid. In the Safari Zone, we find an Execute, which would be great backup for Weepinbell or Kadabra, should we lose either. But it's the Safari Zone, so it runs away. On Route 15, we catch an Oddish, named it Wanderer. More importantly, we evolve Candelabra into a Charizard. And with that power spike, we go to Silph Co in Saffron City to face against Gary. He has apparently dropped his Fearow and leads with Sandslash instead. I send out Dozer the Snorlax and use Surf. He hits with a Swift and a Slash before falling to the second Surf. Next is Magneton, and he hits Dozer with a Supersonic. Dozer hits himself in confusion not once, but twice, causing me to switch into No Spoon. With a Psybeam here and a Thundershock there, No Spoon comes out victorious. Gary sends out Ninetales next, so I sent out Tribird, who takes a strong Ember on the switch. Gary then forgets we're in Gen 1 and goes for the Roar, which has no effect. Tribird then hits with 2 Drill Pecks for the knockout. Kadabra comes out, and I go for the Drill Peck, expecting the Oko. I didn't think Kadabra was faster, and we take a Psybeam. We live with 14 HP before taking him down. Gary has finally evolved his Eevee into Vaporeon, which I manipulated him into by losing the first battle and skipping the Route 22 battle. Thankfully, we still have an electric Pokemon, and send a few bolts his way. Sand Attack is annoying, but we make it through without any losses. Gary then admits to ignoring the Team Rocket crimes, and leaves us to fight Giovanni alone. We pick up our final member in Lapras, who we name Surf's Up. After some leveling, we take the teleporter to the top floor to fight the Rocket Duo for the last time. They lead with Weezing this time, who goes down after 2 Psychics from our newest member. We go for another Psychic on Arbok and get a crit. They switch into Meowth, and it gets a quick Growl off. Makes no difference since it would take 2 body slams regardless, and we send these 2 packing yet again. Giovanni waits for us around the corner, leading with Nidorino. Really makes me wonder how he became the 8th gym leader, seeing as he's building his final team beside us through the battles we've had with him. Lapras takes the double kicks like a champ, and exhausts Nidorino with some psychics. Persian comes out, and I have to make a choice. Not entirely sure who can survive a critical slash, I send out Dodrio. We go for Drill Peck and take a Screech. Thankfully, Tribird gets a critical hit, otherwise Tribird might have been lost here. Rhyhorn comes out, and I have to make another tough choice. Not sure if Surf's Up can survive the switch, I go into No Spoon. We get hit with a strong Horn attack, but stay above half HP. So we go for the Psybeam and get yet another critical hit, taking him down. Nidoqueen comes out, forcing me to switch Kadabra out. Candelabra comes out and digs into the floor, I guess. Nidoqueen retaliates with a Body Slam, and we dig again. Another Body Slam, and Candelabra is paralyzed. We can take another hit, so I stay in for the Ember, winning us the battle. Giovanni tells us that he is a sore loser, then disappears into the black. The Silph president gives us a Master Ball we'll never use, and we take our leave. We decide to take on Koga with an underleveled team. Turns out very well, as we take out Venonat with a Drill Peck. Koga then sends out a Venonat, and we take it out with a Drill Peck. Then he sends out a Venonat, and we take it out with a Drill Peck. Then he sends out a Venomoth, and we take it out with a Drill Peck, and he gives us the Soul Badge. It was a tough fight, but we made it. On the way to Cinnabar, we catch a level 5 Tentacool and name it Sad Jelly. We can then grab our 6th member from the PC, Narrative. Then in the Pokemon Mansion, we catch a Growlithe and name it Niner Niner. Further in the mansion, we battle an Electrode, and I forget that Narradin is underleveled, so I send it out into a self-destruct. We finally lose our first member, and the one I was most excited about to find back on Route 22. We say goodbye and go to Saffron for her replacement. We go to the old Saffron gym and give the ex-leader some Sabrina PTSD by sending out No Spoon the Kadabra. One Psychic easily knocks out Hitmonlee, then another takes out Hitmonchan. Then we take our prize, a Hitmonlee named Brucey. We then pick up Dozer from the PC and battle Sabrina with an underleveled team. I lead with Dozer and immediately start setting up amnesia boosts. All the while, her Abra is using the only effective move it has, Flash. Then with maximum special and minimum accuracy, we start the Misfest. Dozer finally makes contact with Body Slam for the knockout, then does the same for Kadabra. Sabrina then sends out Alakazam and sets up with an X-Defend. Dozer eats the Psywave and continues to miss Body Slams. Alakazam ups its defense even more with a Reflect, and then tanks the Body Slam that finally makes contact. I then begin to get worried about the Recover spam, but get lucky with Paralyzing Body Slam. Sabrina decides not to heal, and Dozer gets in the final blow. She gives us the Marsh Badge, and we challenge Blaine with, you guessed it, an underleveled team. We lead with Lapras, and he leads with Ninetales. We take the Flamethrower easily enough, and knock it out with a couple of Surfs. Blaine sends out Rapidash and uses Growl for some reason. We hit him with the Surf, and then there must be something in both our Pokemon's eyes, because we both miss our attacks. He then growls again, and falls to another Surf. Blaine then sends out his ace. Arcanine? I thought he was supposed to have a Magmar like in the anime. Oh well. We get hit with the Flamethrower, and hit him with a Surf. Our HP is too low to take another hit, so we swap into Tribird, and take a powerful takedown. A fast Drill Peck is enough to take him down, and we get Fire Blast and the Volcano Badge. With nothing else to do, we take on the 8th gym leader, Giovanni. Unable to do the item duplicate glitch in yellow, we send out a level 39 Dozer. We hit a Surf on Dugtrio, who surprisingly misses with Fisher. Another Surf, and Dugtrio goes underground permanently. He then sends out Persian, and I send out Magneton, who finally takes that critical slash I've been so worried about, forcing me to switch out right away into Surf's Up. He sets up with a Guard Spec and a double team as I go for Ice Beam. Persian lands another critical slash, and we miss the Ice Beam. Crit did less than half, so we go for another Ice Beam as Persian sets up with more double teams. At this point, I really regret not leveling my team up more. He goes for Fury Swipes, and we take him down with an Ice Beam. Unfortunately, wanting to avoid the double kick, I send out Candelabra with Dig in mind. Nidoqueen then catches me entirely off guard and hits with a Thunder. We survive the hit and go underground. Sadly, Nidoqueen survives the crit and lands another Thunder, taking down our flying lizard, who will be joining Dugtrio underground for eternity. Dozer comes out for the revenge kill and succeeds in doing so. Nidoking comes out and retaliates with a quick curb stomp, forcing me to swap out after Dozer does minimal damage with the Surf. I send out No Spoon, praying to survive long enough to get a Psychic off. Nidoking misses Thunder, then falls to Psychic. Giovanni sends out Rhydon, and with no safe switch, I risk it for the biscuit, going for an Oko. Rhydon survives with less than half HP, and his turn is wasted with a Guard Spec. A second Psychic takes down Rhydon, and we are finally done with Team Rocket. Definitely won't ever see them again. We get the Earth Badge and say goodbye to Candelabra. We train up our team, and 9 the Growlithe, and evolve it into Arcanine as a replacement before battling Gary on Route 22. He leads with Sandslash again, and we take him down with a Surf from Lapras. Execute comes out next for some reason, and we take it down with an Ice Beam. Magneton then comes out, so we switch into Dozer. We get hit for a measly 28 HP from his Thundershock, and take it down with 2 Body Slams. Ninetale comes out fourth and upsettingly survives a Rock Slide. Then gets a burn off with Ember before drowning in a Surf. Gary sends out Kadabra next, easily outspeeds Dozer, getting off a critical Psychic, which is enough to knock out the sleeping giant. A brutal loss here, but we have no time to mourn. Tribird comes out for the revenge kill, outspeeding Kadabra this time, and getting the Oko. Last out is Vaporeon, and I switch out into Polarize. A strong Hydro Pump takes him at below half, and I take the risk to Thunderbolt him. I'm not exactly sure why I risked that, but we got a lucky crit, and after Gary tells us we're no good at battling, we can finally move on to the Elite Four. After replacing Dozer with Brucey the Hitmonlee, we get our Route 23 encounter, which is a Primate that I accidentally fry, and in Victory Road, a very underleveled Geodude, which we named Brocky. After a sweet grinding sesh, we are ready for the Elite Four. Our team is Polarize the Magneton, Niner the Arcanine, No Spoon the Kadabra, stupid trait evolutions, Surfs Up the Lapras, Tribird the Dodrio, and Brucey the Hitmonlee. I know he has 3 fighting moves, but he can't learn Earthquake. Like, what the hell? Stocked with full restores and revives, full heals, we step in to take on Lorelei. She starts with Dugong, and I lead with Brucey. I go for the jump kick and knock it out cold. Cloyster comes out second and hangs on in the red after a high jump kick, then misses a supersonic and falls to a rolling kick. Lorelei sends out Slowbro, and Brucey nopes the hell out of there. Magneton comes out, and Slowbro raises his defense with Withdraw before getting fried by a critical Thunderbolt. Next out is Jinx, so I switch into Niner. Jinx lands a lovely kiss, but Arcanine wakes up immediately. After the first Fire Blast I've used in years, Jinx is down. Lorelei sends out her Ace Lapras, and I send out Brucey. I was hoping to get off a super effective high jump kick, but Lapras destroys him with a Blizzard. Polarize comes out and gets a critical Thunderbolt for the revenge kill. Elite 1 down, Elite 3 to go. I move Lapras to the front of the party in preparation to show why Lorelei should be after Bruno in the battle order. Bruno sends out his non-fighting type Onix, unaware he's about to get washed away by a 4-time super effective Surf. Then he sends out Hitmonchan, and I repeat the Fighting Dojo experience, taken out with a Psychic. Then he sends out a Hitmonlee, and I repeat the Fighting Dojo experience, and take it out with a Psychic. This is where Bruno starts to give up hope, and sends out a second Onix, knowing that I'll knock this one out with a 4-time super effective Surf as well. Then he sends out his ace, the fighting Pokemon Goro. After surviving a Psychic, he wastes his turn using an X-Defend. I fire off an Ice Beam his way, we exit the battle untouched, and I make the executive decision to demote him to the first elite member. We ready Kadabra in the whole shot position, and use Psychic for the one-shot kill. Or not. Gengar uses Mega Drain, and we Psybeam it into next week. Golbat comes out second, and the single Psybeam takes it down. Third is Haunter, and a single Psychic takes it down. Man, these monotype teams were a bad idea. Psychic drops Arbok, as it always had with the Rocket couple, leaving Agatha to send out her ace Gengar. Knowing that it will survive Psychic anyway, I go for a Psy-Wave, and Gengar misses the Hypnosis. A second Psy-Wave leaves Agatha and her Pokemon in such bad shape, she doesn't return for the sequel. We switch Polarized to the lead, and take the long, triumphant walk into Lance's room. I remember this part being so epic when I was younger, making it to the final member of the Elite Four. He sends out Gyarados like a lamb to slaughter against my Magneton and its Thunderbolt. He then sends out Dragonair, so I swap to my Ice Dispenser, Lapras. Dragonair makes a solid attempt with Thunderbolt, but falls short and becomes a cold heap on the floor. Lance must be going insane in this room because he tries the same thing again, expecting different results. Another Dragonair comes out, and another Dragonair goes away. Next is Aerodactyl. I forgot how fast Aerodactyl is, and he gets off a Hyper Beam. Good thing Lapras is a tank, and shrugs it off like a bug bite. Lapras gets a Surf's Up, and Aerodactyl doesn't get time to recover from his attack, leaving Dragonite all alone. A 4 times effective Ice Beam proves that Lorelei could probably become the head member with her Lapras alone, if she had Psychic. Lance then introduces the best plot twist since The Empire Strikes Back. Well, it seemed that way in the 90s anyways. Surf's Up takes the lead and goes head to head with Sandslash. A bad choice for a champion's lead Pokemon in my opinion. One Ice Beam brings it down, and back in the Pokeball it goes. Next out is Alakazam, the GOAT. I send out Tribird and take a brutal Psychic attack. I pray for the outspeed and knock it out with a Tri-Attack. I don't know why Gary hates his eggs, because he keeps sending them in against Pokemon that are strong against it, but he survives the Drill Peck, and then cheats and uses a Full Restore immediately after. Another Drill Peck gets a crit, and Exeggutor is shell-shocked. Ninetales is next, so I switch into Lapras. He gets off a crit Fire Spin to lock me in for a few turns, and continues to outspeed me into more Fire Spins. Knowing I'll lose if that keeps up, I send out No Spoon. I get a Psychic off, and Ninetales traps me in another Fire Spin. I can only wait to break out, then outspeed for the finishing blow. Magneton is 5th in line, and survives a Psychic with half HP, missing his Screech, somehow. I guess Kadabra covered its ears or something? Another Psychic brings it down, and Gary sends out his last Pokemon, the starter he bullied away from me. He goes for a quick attack, and tanks my Psychic like a champ. I swap into Polarize, and he uses Hydro Pump, but he misses this time. A Thunderbolt brings him to the red, and he lets out a Desperate Aurora Beam, doing a measly 27 damage. One last Thunderbolt puts Vaporeon down, and a sad Gary begrudgingly titles us champion. I don't really like Gary in this game, because they changed his dialogue a bit, but I feel bad for the rival in Red and Blue, as his grandpa comes all the way to see his grandson as the strongest trainer in the world, but he gets dethroned before the old man arrives. After belittling his grandson, he takes us into the Hall of Fame to register our Pokemon. And thus concludes my very first completed Nuzlocke challenge. It was a bit easier than I thought, with a few goofy mistakes on my part, but I know Kanto is generally regarded as pretty easy for Nuzlocking. I'm excited to move on to the 2nd gen and challenge Red, who I haven't faced in a very long time, assuming that I get that far. This project has taken so much more work than I thought it would, spending hours recording footage, editing said footage, typing up a script, and recording audio for it. I have a newfound respect for people like John Stone and JRose11. That being said, I would really appreciate any feedback and some likes, comments, and subscriptions if you liked what you saw today. I got a new piece of hardware recently, and I'm really excited to put it to use. I've got a project that I've wanted to do for years, and I can finally do that, so I will start live streaming it in the near future. If you like Pokemon and people suffering for your entertainment, then stick around. Thanks again, I'm Man of Lego, signing out.